Hi, my name is Vin Keen. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Woven Health Collective. I'm here today with our Senior Vice President of Client Services, Jennifer Barrett, to talk about her recent article in Biopharma Dive titled From Episodes to a Lifetime: How AI Can Enable Women's Health Brands to Build a Partnership That Lasts. So, how can AI enabled pharmaceutical brands really move from that episodic campaign style you mentioned to something that is more longitudinal?
I love that question. I think this is a really relevant time to be exploring that. So, AI has grown a lot every single day, every single week, every single month that we're constantly learning what it can do and what it can't do. AI allows brands to unify previously siloed data into something that's more of a continuous view of the patient's health journey. It's not just a moment, it's a journey. Instead of activating around a single condition or a moment, marketers and medical affairs teams together can deliver contextually relevant engagement across life stages. This supports a more coordinated education, earlier intervention, and sustained relationships rather than repeated reintroduction at each new health event.
Yeah, you talked about that in the article, this idea that we seem to be constantly meeting the same people over and over again, but not really recognizing that.
Yeah, I think it's completely critical to have that ongoing conversation because there's a sense of frustration as a patient or even a consumer of any sort of product when it's a brand saying they don't understand me and what I need and meeting me where I'm at in my journey.
Right. And consumers, forget about that. Consumers have really come to expect that kind of personalized experience in the non-healthcare space. So clearly it would make sense that in something as important as healthcare decision making, that we'd have that kind of deeply intelligent relationship.
Well, it's also critical too in women's health because there are a lot of things that are not necessarily a disease. It's you are pregnant, but you don't have a disease. So you need that women's health lens, a very much a consumer lens of where they are meeting in that journey and that you're an active participant in that moment in time and what your needs are.
What kind of data foundations are required to support something like this? This seems fairly robust and involved.
Just as we were talking about a longitudinal approach before, this overall longitudinal strategy depends on integrating diverse data sources. It's equally as important to establish anything that can go across systems, such as governance frameworks. Whether you're working in the medical affairs space, commercial space, whatever it may be, or even patient advocacy, we always have to ensure that there's a scientific integrity and there's an appropriate use while making sure that we're marketing the benefits in a precise segmentation and timing.
Got it. So not just the personalized information, but the business and legal and ethical rules that need to go along with it.
It has to be a broader story. I think all too often we've fallen into the traps of saying, here is this remit and here's a portion. It's one page in a much larger book that now AI is going to be able to say, okay, let's take a step back from maybe this small remit and look at the bigger picture and the whole story and work together more collaboratively.
That's great. I mean, one of the things I found very refreshing about your article is this is obviously, I really like the idea that you focused on this very specific use case, this very specific population that has very special needs, different than other populations, and the ability to sort of tailor something in AI makes it so we don't have to try and sort of, solve every problem for every patient type at once. We should over time. But by focusing this on the women's health, I think it's really a nice way. It was very refreshing, to be frank. Why now? Why is it a critical moment for pharmaceutical organizations to invest in this type of AI driven technology, these strategies for women's health today?
I think women's health has always been an interesting topic because it's such an overlooked area. And only now we're saying, okay, we're learning about fertility, we're learning about the woman's body. We're also learning that the woman's body and the health needs, and even from a clinical trial perspective, might not be the same with some AEs, how other folks may resonate as men. Technology is now converging all of the different elements of all the different evolution. So there's an investment in women's health, not only from a dollar's perspective, but it's also accelerating because the technology is allowing it to accelerate. With the AI adoption across life sciences, it's now mainstream. There are so many people that are saying, let me learn more, let me do more. How far can we push it? But there's also a demand and a shared accountability to be able to explore it and having that glowing recognition of something that's a long standing gap in care. Organizations that act now can help shape emerging standards for engagement long term. And those that delay, honestly, are risking to be fragmented and they're not going to be as successful. And those approaches, those long term approaches that maybe we did maybe 10, 15 years ago, no longer meet the patient journey, the HCP journey, and just the overall care journey and their expectations of what they need.
What do I need to look out for when it comes to issues of trust and issues of bias, which oftentimes can creep into the AI landscape?
I've always been, a thought leader on AI and how we can incorporate it into our day to day. And there's a lot of folks that are ready to jump in and dive in and push it to its limits and realizing that there isn't a lot of limits. But then there's also a shared accountability and responsibility. I know I talked about shared accountability before, but when you have a responsible AI usage that is set forth and you have a strong governance with it. There's a transparency with it. There's continuous validation of data so we don't allow the who solution with all of the data sources and making sure that we validate all the outputs. There's that strength. This would include something that could be a proactive approach. So when you're looking proactively identifying biases in data sets, ensuring diverse representation in all the data, and aligning outputs from a clinical evidence standpoint, that will help protect that. Medical affairs plays a key role in oversight of really maintaining the integrity of data. While marketing also must ensure that the personalization enhance that relevant approach to all the patients and even with the HCPs. Marketing can also play a role where we're not overstepping on privacy and we're making sure that we're compliant and anything with the compliance group can also be a checks and balances system. But as partners with a lot of our pharmaceutical clients, it's up to us also to help guide that story.
What I've sort of been thinking about and seeing more and more over the past 6 months was this idea that we're moving past this concept of AI equals Gen AI. It's all about generating words and pictures and movies and sounds, but to the point where it can actually be this sort of thought partner or backup, help to us, not to be the final say on any of the data points, not to be the final say on any of the messaging, but at the very least to start to point out areas that the model suggests we should, as humans, spend more time looking at and be sensitive to. I think that's been a really interesting development because I get stuck in a thing where it's still just about it's making cool stuff. This isn't all about generation anymore.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely critical to always keep the human in the loop and really that validation sense because there are times where something can hallucinate or if you don't give it the right prompts or you're not training your agent properly. But there's also something really special about what we do in that we've all had years and years, decades of experience. We've all gone to additional schooling and specific that a machine cannot replace. But a machine can also enhance the human mind and the ability. So instead of reading, let's say, 10 publications, we can kind of convert all of those together and say, okay, based on this, digest this, and be able to build that strategy moving forward so that we can get care and the therapies quicker to patients to be able to improve outcomes.
And are there changes, sort of structural changes, operational changes, or things that they need to do differently, either at the brand level or at the corporate level, in order to support this kind of long term relationship?
Oh, absolutely. And I think those are some of the pain points that everyone's having, those growing pains with AI right now of who are we? Who do we want to be? How are we evolving as an industry? And just as there's always new drug discoveries, new discoveries in the disease state itself, this is also something to pay attention to. So, as we shift from episodic to more of the longitudinal engagement, it's going to require a closer alignment between all of the stakeholders marketing, medical affairs, R&D, any of the thought leaders, and especially compliance. So, teams must move toward shared KPIs, the key performance indicators, focused on long term outcomes and what is the outcome that we actually desire rather than the short term campaign metrics. And there has to be an additional investment into data infrastructure, cross functional work streams, and a governance model that is essential to ensure that engagement is long term, remains compliant. We always must make sure that it's evidence based. And at the end of the day, why are we all here? We're here for the patients. We have to make sure that it's always patient centric.
We've been talking with Senior Vice President of Client Services, Jennifer Barrett at Woven Health Collective, about her new article on Biopharma Dive, From Episodes to a Lifetime, How AI Can Enable Women's Health Brands to Build a Partnership That Lasts. Jennifer, thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much, Ben. My pleasure.